In this video, I'm here to talk about how we expect loans to behave at Zopa and what that means for how your investment grows. When you invest in loans at Zopa, you're buying fractions of unsecured personal loans that we've made to low-risk UK consumers. One of the reasons we like these loans as an investment class is that they're fairly predictable. So we can reasonably accurately predict within a basket of loans how many of them are likely to default, which for us means the borrower has missed 4 consecutive payments. And we use that likelihood of default to calculate your expected returns. But not only that, you tend to see some interesting patterns and predictable patterns, particularly with higher risk loans, around when those defaults happen and why. And what you see with these loans is that a lot of the defaults tend to happen earlier in the life of the loan. So if you had a basket of these loans, and for simplicity's sake, let's say they're all 5-year loans, we might expect 100 of them to default over time. In the first 4 months, you wouldn't see any defaults by definition. But then, between months 4 and 16, we'd normally expect to see around half of those defaults, so around 50 of them, within a 12-month window. But then over the remaining 44 months is when you'd see the other 50 defaults spread over that time. So what's happening here is that if borrowers do struggle to repay the loan, you tend to see that early on. And if borrowers are able to repay the loan, then they don't tend to default when they're close to completing on their loan. And that's why the default rate falls as the loans mature. When you buy a basket of these loans, in the first 4 months, you'll get repayments of your capital and interest. And then, from month 4, you might expect to see some defaults. And in the next 12 months is when we would expect them to be at their highest. So it might be quite confusing to figure out what your return is actually going to be. And if you project it out at that point of higher defaults, it might even be quite alarming. But don't worry. That's not how we expect these loans to behave over the long term. Then, if you have relending turned on, your repayments are being used to buy new loans, which might follow a similar pattern, but just a month behind. So, if you were to plot your investment growth at Zopa, you might expect to see a sort of sawtooth graph like this. Some of your loans will default, and that's when you see the dips. I hope that all made sense. As ever, if you have any questions, please do call us. We're here to help. But also, your questions help us prioritize what we need to do to keep improving the lending experience at Zopa.